Hi everyone, this is Paper Crafting with Teresa, and of course I'm Teresa. So let's get started here. We are going to be making this card here. It is a nice spring card, but it's more on the masculine side. There's a little bit of flowers to it, but it's not overly feminine. It is a fun fold card. So you pull back this flap here and open it, and then you pull this flap here and open it, and your message would be here in the center. Now I've made some adjustments to the one that we're going to make. I didn't quite like how this white piece here is showing, so I'm going to make the dark green the same size of that, and then make this white sheet here a little bit bigger as well. Also, if you wanted to, you could always put a message here, maybe a little poem or a picture or something like that if you wanted to. One thing I did add also is I added Velcro because I didn't like how the card just stayed open like this. So the Velcro keeps it nice and closed so that you can display it. When displaying the cards, you can use like a small art easel. That's really good for displaying cards, and also you could just lean it up against something that's flat. Because this is not your standard one, there's no way to just put it on the tabletop by itself and let it stand. Another change I made was this front flap right here. I scooted the bird closer to the edge and made this part here as long as the second flap. It looks better. It looks more balanced. Okay, so let's get started. Now I did do my measurements and my cutting off screen. That is because I'm vision impaired, and sometimes it takes me a long time to get my measurements right and taped so that I don't take up your time as well watching me do the mundane parts. I have showed you some of the tools that I use for cutting, and if you ever have any questions about that, please contact me. My email address for my YouTube channel is papercrafting.teresa@gmail.com. And you can contact me there, and I'm more than happy to help you work through things if you need more assistance than what I show in the video. So our first piece is this dark shade of green and the white that we're going to use as a background. And the reason why we're using white as the background, it also gives stability to the card, but a lot of people like to put their stamp on the back of it. Stamp as in meaning created by or something like that. I have not done that yet. I'm still working on it, and then I will get one made especially for me. I just have to decide on what I want with it. You know, I don't know if I want it designed with flowers or pictures or scrolls or anything like that. So I'm waiting on that. So our first sheet will be the white sheet, and that is a 5.5 by 4.25, your standard A2 size. And as you can see, it's kind of marked up on this side, but the back side is perfect. So that's one good way to use cardstock that has some markings on it, because this green one laid on top of it is going to take care of that, and no one will see it. So we're going to go ahead and remove our tear tape using my take your pick tool, And if you don't remember, or this is your first time watching, the only reason why I am removing the first inch and making a tab on all four corners is because it makes it easier to try and line it up and get it straight if it's only slightly tacked down. And then once you get it into the spot that you want, then you can remove the tape, and it's so much easier. And it's easier to pull up and everything. So scoot this back. And if you have problems lining things up, if you turn them to the side, you can usually do a little bit of a better job. All right. There we go. Oops. See, I messed up. And I am showing some of the top over here. So because it's just slightly tacked down on that corner, I can pull it back up to adjust it. Just don't lose your tabs. Okay. I'm almost thinking that maybe I should do all this off camera because there we go. We got it lined up now. There's only a slight edge showing at the top, and if I don't like that, I can always just shave that off. As you see, I'm just pulling the tabs, and it's taking care of everything, and everything stays in the place. Okay, let me get rid of these scraps. Okay, so the next part is our flaps. So what we're going to do is, I'll give you the measurements. The first flap that we're going to work on is the big one. That is 3.5 by 4 inches, and then we score in a 1/2 inch. So you would lay the cardstock on the long side. So you would put the 4 inches across the top, and then you just take your scoring tool and go down a 1/2 inch. Very easy. Okay, so there's that one. And then our next one is going to be 3 inches by 3.5 inches. So the 3.5 inches goes across the top, and the same thing happens here. You go and score at a 1/2 inch. And I love this score buddy. It's a light blue, and the numbers are down in a dark blue. So there's enough contrast that if you have some vision issues like I do, it's easier to see. Okay, so we're done with the scoring, so I'll go ahead and place that to the side. Okay, so we got those. Now we're going to go ahead and place the white piece. That's the inside of the card. We're going to fold our tabs out on the tape again. This makes it so easy to get this tape off than to trying to use your nails or your fingers that don't have nails like mine. All right. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and place this. Now this sheet here is 5 1/4 by 4. So it is a 1/4 inch smaller than the green on the tops and the bottom and on the sides. So that will give it like an eighth of an inch frame all the way around. And that allows enough of the green to show that it looks really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this and get this side. Didn't line up again. I got this side too far out. It's hard to judge exactly what 1/8 of an inch looks like, but as long as you try and get it even on both sides. And you'll notice that in the cards I make, not only are they not perfect, because I am no way at being perfect at making cards, but there's also high contrast going on between layers. And that again is because I have vision problems. And if you're ever curious about my vision issues, you could always look up the term MACTEL2. That's MACTEL and the number 2. And learn about my eye disease. It's very rare. And it is very frustrating. Okay, so we're going to work on the 2 tabs now. So you'll see if you flip it, let's go ahead and add the pattern paper to it. So this is the pattern paper I chose. This one goes with this and this here. So you line up the one that is 3 by 3 and you put that on top of the green one that is 3.5 by 4. Now this paper is very cute in my opinion. It is white with white intersecting lines. Or no, it's white with green intersecting lines. And it just matches so well with this dark green. Now you'll see the back of that pattern paper, which is dark green, light green, and gold, but I chose this side here instead. And you would just line this up and make sure you have an even border around. There we go. And then pull your tabs. Looks like I didn't get that one all the way. So if that happens and it tears, you just grab from the side and pull it out. There you go. So that one's done. And let's go ahead and put this one on. And this one here is the 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 of the pattern paper. And we place that on the panel that is 3 by 3.5. And you'll understand what the 1/2 inch is for that we scored. It'll all make sense. Okay, so we'll even that up the best that we can. There's that one. And there's that one. Okay, so now this is your chance to, if you want to go ahead and stamp a message in the inside. Some people like to leave it blank, and some people like to put a message there. The only thing with this is you're going to have to make sure that the panels cover your message. Okay, so now we're going to decorate the inside of our card like we would normally do, because we don't want to leave it naked, as we say. So I have 2 strips of the patterned paper, which is the green and white with the green stripes going horizontal and vertical. And I'm going to place this at the top of the white piece of paper of the card, so where you would put your sentiment. So you really want to line that up close to the top, because we want only the green to show. Well, it looks like I didn't get my measurements quite right. So in that case, I'm going to leave a slight border on the top and the sides. So now it looks like my mistake was actually planned. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Now, you don't have to use tear tape. You could always use liquid glue, and liquid glue gives you enough time to really move things around slightly after you get it down. But you still have to move quite quickly. You can't just play around with it for 5 minutes or so. And some people use like a yes paste to put on the back, or glue sticks. I like tear tape a lot, but I'm also really liking some liquid glue too. All right, so there is the inside of my card, and I like it better like this. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and put on the panels. So we go ahead and remove the tape here. Okay, so one panel has to open from the left side and one has to open from the right side. And the reason that we did the 1/2 inch score is so that this part here is folded in, so it's easier to line up on your card. So what you would do is take your card and line that up the best you can to the center. And then when you get all the way up to the edge, you can press down the back of it to adhere it, because the other side had tape on it. So once you get that down, I like to take a bone folder and go over it a couple times to make it nice and sharp edge to it. And then go ahead and take it to the back of it also. To make sure it's nice and secure. So, as you can see, I did mess up. So we might have to add another layer to this card, but this here was supposed to be sandwiched in between the 2 layers. So it's not that big of a deal in design-wise, but the appearance of the back of the card won't look so great if you just left it. But it will also give the card more stability. So we'll go ahead and remove the tape off of the next tag. Okay, now this one here, we want to place this one in the center of the other one. Now, you could always adjust that to where it goes down lower or higher, or just kind of off center a little bit. I like the off center because it just really shows a lot more dimension to the card. Okay, so we got that down. We'll go ahead and crease this again. And on the back. And if you notice, see how much it wants to stay apart? I don't think that looks that great as a card. So that's why I put the Velcro on it, which we will do in a little bit. Right now, we're going to show you how I made this. Okay, this is the tag that we're going to use for the front of the card, and then place the bird on top of it. Okay, so what we're going to do is the green piece here is 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. And then we will need to have a white piece of paper. I'm shedding hair everywhere, so I'm sorry. Okay, so this piece of paper here is 2 by 3. Now, I like to have rounded edges on things. I think it just makes it more, I don't know, more professional looking. So I have this tool here. I got it from scrapbook.com. And it rounds the corners, and it has 3 different sizes. On this one, I used R10, which is 10 millimeters. And you flip it over, and you just put the corner in and line it up and snip. And now you have rounded corners, and that looks so much better. And I went ahead and rounded the corners here on the tag that goes behind the bird. Okay, so now we're going to talk about stamping a little bit. We have not talked about that any. So I'm going to go ahead and get my stamp board out. This here is a new pad that I got for Stampin' Up. And it does really well for using it as a surface to stamp on. Okay, here's my card. And I like to line that up so it's nice and straight. And then take my... Oh, I didn't get my stamp out. Let me go ahead and do that. So you'll need a stamping block, some black ink. I use Memento black ink, and I got that from Stampin' Up. And just give me a second and I will find my bird. And because now I have my stamps all organized, it helps me a lot to find them. One day I'll make a video giving you a tour of my craft area, and you can see how I organize. Sorry about the dog barking. That was my dog Darcy, and something caught her attention outside. Okay, so this here is one of the polymer cling stamps. So you just place that onto your acrylic block. The flat side goes down onto the acrylic block. So make sure that's nice and down. And then you take it and you would go ahead and stamp on your ink pad. So you want to go all around it just to make sure that you got everything covered. Okay, and one thing good about these stamps is that they're clear, so you can see where the ink is on the bird to make sure there is coverage. If your sight isn't the best, I would just, when you think you've got enough, do it like 2 to 3 more times more and you'll be good to go. Okay, so we'll line that up, and you just do your best to make sure it stays on the paper. Okay, now once it gets down, you don't move it. Oops, sorry, I hit the camera with my head. Okay, and then you remove it, and there is your stamped image. Okay, now what we're going to do is use some alcohol markers to put some color on this. So I always use a piece of cardstock to put underneath when I'm doing alcohol markers, because they do bleed through. So one important thing to know is never put your paper on your card and then stamp, because it could bleed through and ruin your surface underneath. Just as like when you have a regular card and there's only one layer of cardstock, you don't want to stamp inside there so that it bleeds through the back of the card. You always want to put, you would put another layer of cardstock with the stamped image on that cardstock and adhere that down to your card. Okay, so here's our image. Now, one thing I like about alcohol markers is that you don't have to be perfect. You just color away and it turns out. So the first thing I'm going to do is, okay, these are Stampin' Blends. They are from Stampin' Up, and they are two-sided. One side has a fine tip and the other side has a wider angled tip. And they also come in light shades and dark shades. So I'm going to go ahead and do the branch And you're probably wondering how I can do this when I say I have vision problems. I don't know. I can't explain how I can do it. I kind of look to the side of it to try and get it in my peripheral vision some. And then I just put my markers down and color the best that I can. And one good thing about this is with the Magenta ink, the Stampin' Blends, the alcohol markers do not bleed outside of the black ink, which makes it really nice. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to add this green into the leaves. All right. Let's see. I'm also going to go ahead and use it in the flower, because I found this, and you see, I'm not even really caring where I go. I'm just going around the inside of the flower some. And it does take a couple minutes. Well, I won't say a couple minutes, but at least a minute for the alcohol to evaporate, and then you could really see the change in the card. So if you're going to add more than one color, I would just leave that area alone and go to another section and work on that, and then go back and finish the flower. So on that, I am going to go work on the bird. So I'm using a dark shade of blue. This is called Misty Moonlight. And I'm just going to go and kind of trace the feathers in a little bit. Like I said, it doesn't have to be exact or perfect. And with these kind of markers, it looks really good that you don't do it perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to go work on the flowers some. Now, this here, I never would have thought this would look as good as it turned out, but this one here is called Magenta Madness, and I'm going to go in and kind of go out a little bit further than what I did with the green, and it just adds, I don't know, it adds more dimension, and it adds a little bit of brightness to it, but it's not overly distracting. All right, and now I'm going to go and use the lighter blue, which this one here is called Seaside Spray. And then I'm just going to, do some light strokes. And as you can see, I'm not really trying to color it. And then I'm going to go over the areas that had the dark blue and kind of put some of that around it, and that will add a little bit more dimension into it. So there is my little stamp tag of a bird, and you got to see it printed and colored by me. And you'll see on the back of it, the colors have faded through. And so you wouldn't want that on the back of your cards. So that's why we're going to put it here on this green piece, so that we can add that to the card. So on this one, I actually put 3 rows of tape, just because I wanted it down really good, because it will get the most use of opening and closing. So it'll get used more often. So I want it stuck really good. So I did pull the tags of the tape to the side. And then I'm going to go ahead and line this up. And this here is very, very close to the edge. So there's only like 1/8 of an inch all the way around it. Okay, there we go. And then you would just remove the tape and remove the tape. All right, now we add this to our card. But luckily on my tabletop where I laid down the cardstock, it did not seep through to that part. Okay, so we're gonna close the first flap and then the second flap and then decide how we want this. Now, I designed this to go like this. I think that looks prettier, but you could also move it up. That looks good too, where you have it both of the pattern on that side. Maybe that does look better. So we can place that there. You can pop it up if you want to, but you don't have to. I am not going to pop it up because I'm going to pop up something else. So you can go ahead and put that down like this. And voila, there's our card. Now you can always do something different. I wanted to add another flower in that would kind of go with the card, but also bring in another color. And yes, the card looks good the way it is, but you can always add something to it to make it even better. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some cards, you know, less is better, and some cards, it just needs that little extra punch of something. So what I'm going to do is add a flower. So I have a punch that punches out flowers, which is really nice, these small little flowers. And I'm going to put this right here on the edge of the flowers and the bird. And I chose a blue to match the blue bird. And to me, the flower needs a center, so I've got to use a gem in the center. So I'm going to use my take your pick tool and get that. So I'm using a white gemstone, and I'm putting that in the middle. So that adds a little pizzazz to the front of your card. So that's how it looks. And now, see, it's trying to open up again. So I'm going to get my little Velcro tabs and put on here. Okay, so we want it right close to the edge, but not sticking over. But we also have to make sure that it's going to be on, whoops, and it is sticking over. At least that part is. Okay, there we go. That it's going to, the back piece is going to land on this side. And just a little tip, if you've not dealt with Velcro very much, it's easier to line up the Velcro if you attach the Velcro dots together, so that when you know where it's at on one side, and if they're stuck together and you place it down, then you know it's going to be in the right spot on the opposite side of the card. So there is our card. Now, if we wanted to, we could do a stamped sentiment down here at the bottom or up at the top. But I kind of like it the way it is. It looks to me like a piece of art. And that way, when you open up the card, you could just write your message here in the center. So I hope you like the card. If you like the video and the card I made, you can like my video or subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get out at least one video a week. So here are the two cards. This here is the card that I made to begin with, and this one here is the revised version of the card. And I really do like this card better than this card. Now I did make up one other card to show you guys, just so that you could see the change of how it can be if you just change up the pattern of paper and the color of the cardstock you use. Here is another version of the same card. So what I did differently here, of course, is I added another layer in of color, which is the gold. And then I have this nice, it's kind of like a watercolor splatters and bubbles. And it has gold foil mixed into it. That's why I added the gold. And it says, hello, friend. And then you open up the card. And then I did go ahead and put my stamped message in the center. It says, gratitude helps you to love the life you already have. And then I put thinking of you, and I did add some gemstones to add some interest to it. So there is 2 versions of the same layout. Once again, take a moment and like my video and hit that subscribe button so you get notified when I make new videos. Thank you and have an awesome day.